What's happening? Yep, I'm gonna continue on that subject of keywording, and it's basically like when I say something, it's like you should either know about it, and if you don't, then you gotta go and look it up and figure it out, cause it must be important. You know what I'm saying? Here's some concepts: think tank databases. So that's a good one right there. Let me see another one here. Look, all right, NLP and chaining and anchoring, sensitization. Let me think. Psychic driving. There's a good one. Let me think of some more ones here. Yeah. The protocols of Zion. There's a good one. Let me think here. No, kind of. Can't think of none now. Anyway, look, keywording is kind of like it's a way that you can kind of like it's like NLP. It's just like in it's like chaining and anchoring. And it's like triggering someone to respond to whatever you're trying to command you're giving them. Like, look, go research this, look this up. In a way, so in a way, it's kind of like it's kind of like pointing in the right direction. Like when they say, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Instead of pointing in the opposite direction, you'd be like, well, that way, man. Follow that trail of dust right there. I just seen the Roadrunner run by, and Wiley Coyote was chasing them, and they went that way. You know what I'm saying? But that's basically what it is. It's like kind of leaving. It's kind of like yeah, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, man. It's like you're. It's like it's kind of like look. It's like yeah, I hacked a trail, man, through this bush right here, but it's still a trail through bush. So if you're gonna follow the trail, it's like I'll make it kind of easier for you, and do the I'll get the ball rolling, but it's up to you. Freaking keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? The momentum there once it's started. That's kind of the concept behind it. And like sensitization is like uh, it's when you implant like something and then it's like you use something else. Like you say the word while you flick the lighter, and then you can just flick the lighter, and the person will think of the word that you gave them. Same thing with this is the tactics they use to brainwash us. Okay, and this is the way. These are the tactics that you use to unbrainwash yourself. Because you know what I'm saying. It's kind of in a way. It's like you got to go and look at the scary things. You know what I'm saying? And familiarize yourself with them a little bit so that to the point where you're not so afraid of it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and the only way to do that is like actually you got to do some digging and some searching and some researching and like some examination. And as much as you examine this world, you also got to examine yourself because it's like you got to put yourself in the shoes of the people that that are doing the things that you're researching about and figure out why they're doing them. But yet you yourself can't succumb to the same pressure that's causing them to give in and become a think tank database type neoconservative. That's a good term. You know what I'm saying? Zionist. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand the freaking these terms because it's like then it's like there's no more of this, like these people are just like they compartmentalize. And like a think tank database is basically silent weapons for silent wars. You know what I'm saying? And it's also tied into continuity of government. And the think tank database is a type of an operation that wrote Operation Northwoods or the Iron Mountain Report. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and things like Rex 84. So, I mean, it's like, and the people that behind the protocols of Zion uh, uh, basically are behind the mindset that is pushing these other ideas, man. I mean, it's like, and it stems back to eugenics. You can follow that to this kind of like the European nobility kind of Aryan kind of philosophy comes out of that, and that predates Germany, and it comes out of America and Britain. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you don't know a maritime amnesty law, you know what I'm saying. You can't understand what they're really saying because that's part of the this whole keyword thing. It's like psychic driving. It's like when repetition, uh, and they chain and anchor and do these kind of like freaking. They implant little commands, and then they sensitize you to a trigger. So when they hit you with the trigger, somehow you think of the command, even though no one said it. And it's they do this with freaking everything, and then they feed it back to you in movies. You know what I'm saying? And they compartmentalize it, or they say the same thing 20 different times in different ways. And the theory is the more times, the more each time it gets like the more repetition, and the point where you're just like you don't even recognize that they're saying it, but they're saying it, and it's just so ingrained in you that it's like you're just kind of like overloaded with freaking all this weird freaking these commands and suggestions. And another thing, they come up with these snazzy titles uh, and stuff to conceal and compartmentalize. Once again, through like it's kind of like if they just drove a giant freaking missile down the road, towed by a semi, people would get afraid, right? But if they took it and cut it up into pieces and transported it piece by piece and assembled it somewhere else, it doesn't ring off any of the alarm bells. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how the compartmentalization works. And it's like once you're aware of the real meat of it, it's like they can say one term, but you can see all those connections there. Like you can see what they're really saying, what they really mean, or possibly what they could mean. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes it ain't necessarily that, but sometimes it is. And that's one way you can kind of like train yourself. It's just the more of these things that you familiarize yourself with, and if you can kind of connect the dots, you know what I'm saying? And then because you kind of need to see them. It's kind of like one of those pictures, man, that's made of a bunch of little pictures. You know what I'm saying? Freaking like, there's a bunch of different pictures, but the way they're organized, if you step back and look, it's a big picture. It's kind of freaking. It's kind of like that. Like that's the way they got this thing. It's it's very elaborate, man. It's freaking. It's like big scale. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's why when it's so big and big scale like that, though, it's like real easy to point out and spot out because it's like the octopus has tentacles everywhere. So everywhere you point, you're pointing at the same octopus. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of its defense too, is that you're never exactly sure if that tangled arm is which one you think it is. At what spot you're looking at because they're so interconnected and intertwined. that they trick you into looking at, like a little piece of the octopus, man, and it's like the blinders that they keep people in like this only allows them to see and you're right up next to the freaking octopus like that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even realize that it's a freaking octopus. And it's like only till you kind of take a step back and then look at it all. And then it doesn't matter even if you're in the freaking twistiness of the freaking this maritime amnesty law squid freaking octopus thing. It's like you know what you're dealing with now. Yeah, but it's freaking yeah, it's for real, dude. It's freaking it's shit's crazy. Shit's crazy, uh but after you familiarize yourself with just a couple of these concepts and how they freaking interconnect and intertwine, and it's like an infrastructure of like this freaking it's called the freaking it's called the breakaway civilization or the freaking uh where it's black ops, black budget, what is it that called, man? Black shadow government. You know what I'm saying? Basically, it boils down to that. It's like the shadow government has separate laws from the laws of America. You know what I'm saying? But yet they operate from there to influence all of our stuff. So in other words, it's like unfortunately, we're just an arm of the squid. We're not the brain of the squid. They've always allowed America to seem to be the brain of the squid, but it's really not. It's just it might be a spot where a lot of tentacles kind of connect, but like, look, it's not really the the head. You know what I'm saying? It's like in a way the beast of the sea. That's a clue that like look freaking that's a clue because it's like it comes from the law of the sea. So it's a multitude of people and tongues and nations, and so their nation doesn't have no land. It's doesn't exist. It's just like legalese, word magic, paper trail that leads to nowhere and no guy in particular. It's weird, so weird. That's why it's like it's totally confusing, but that's why it's made that way because it's like they don't really expect anyone to go back and look. Uh, and I think that's what they expected no one to really ever look at it like, or they were even if they did they wouldn't understand it anyway. So they were like kind of safe. It seems like that. So, man, this is yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. Freaking keywords, man. They're everywhere. That's how you can recognize trends, predictive programming, freaking you know, yeah, culture engineering, freaking it's all basically MK Ultra, man. Like freaking and trauma based mind control and freaking uh yeah, basically it's all trauma, man. Coercion and uh peer pressure, and then like fear based, and like also like the whole world is based off the ignorance. It's more or less the grease of the skids of the world is ignorance, and there's something wrong with that it can't exist without a lot of ignorant people. And this is one of the ways that you combat the ignorance is that you learn how to catch a key word, and then go and just look, just make sure that don't put off figuring out what it means if you don't know what it means. And all you need to do is do just a simple 30-second just overview look at it, just basically get the gist of it. You don't always need to know every little detail, and once you got it cataloged in your mind, you can always go back at a later date and get further details. And that's how you kind of do it, man.